is the reshaping of reality by man to present it in an understandable way. As the artist recreates the world around him, it is shaped by how he sees it and what he believes in. The Indian artist did not attempt to depict only the material reality around him. He wished to share the complete experience of the moment, not just the photographic presentation of the shapes around him. Beauty for the Indian artist has been a reflection of the glory of God. In fact, for the ancient artist, the experience of beauty, the ecstasy on seeing nature or art which is truly beautiful, has been considered as akin to Brahmanand or the final bliss. Join us on this journey into the heart of the Indian tradition of painting. Come with us to the gorge of the Vaghora river, where Ajanta was created, to the courts of the Mughals and the Deccani Sultans. Journey with us through the deserts of Rajasthan and the icy lands of Ladakh and Lahaul Spiti. In the verdant south and in the gentle hills of the north, experience the compassionate view of life that is enshrined in Indian painting.
At over 10,000 feet altitude, the barren desert plateau of Ladakh is a fascinating crucible of cultures. It is bound on the south by the Great Himalayas and on the north by the majestic Karakoram Range. However, in days gone by, this was not an isolated place. It was an active crossroads of trade in the ancient world. Leh in Ladakh was on an artery of the Silk Route, which flowed from the distant lands of China to those of Mediterranean Europe. This artery connected the Silk Route through Leh and Srinagar to Amritsar, and from there down to Nalla Supara in present-day Maharashtra and to Kerala. Along with trade, philosophic ideas and artistic impulses flowed to this crucible in the mountains, up from Ajanta and Kerala on the one hand, and from the cities of China, Central Asia, and those of the Mediterranean on the other hand. A great Buddhist culture was created in this trans-Himalayan plateau. Since very early times, religious teachers from the Pala kingdom in eastern India and from Kashmir were bringing the ideas of Buddhism to this land. The first great coming of Buddhism, which swept across Ladakh onto Tibet, Nepal, Sikkim, Bhutan and Arunachal, was in the 8th century. When Guru Padmasambhav took Vajrayana Buddhism from Kashmir right across this entire mountainous belt. The second great coming of Buddhism was when King Yeshe-O of Guge built 108 monasteries across his kingdom in the early 11th century. These were made in Ladakh, western Tibet and Lahaul Spiti. Craftsmen and artists from Kashmir were invited by Yeshe-O, and they constructed and painted these monasteries. which were to become the backbone of trans-Himalayan Buddhism. These monasteries are a significant part of the heritage of the world, and they reflect one of the most glorious periods of painting in India. At Ajanta, we had seen the most sublime expression of classical painting in India. These paintings had taken us to a great height in the depiction of inner peace and spirituality. Thereafter, we see a marvelous body of painting which develops in the Pala kingdom of eastern India. These paintings carry forward the grace and the beauty of human form, which was seen in the paintings of Ajanta. In the Pala kingdom, with the development of Vajrayana Buddhism, the meditative qualities and thoughtful expression of the earlier paintings finds a new meaning and form. Vajrayana Buddhism has Dhyani Buddhas, who personify different aspects of the Buddha's compassion and wisdom. This philosophy offers a new path towards attaining enlightenment. The worshipper meditates upon images of the deity until he becomes the deity himself. By absorbing the qualities personified in the image, he becomes that very aspect of the Buddha which is presented in the image before him. Thus, paintings are extremely important for Vajrayana Buddhists as an essential part of religious practice. After the Pala kingdom, the next great center of Vajrayana Buddhism was Kashmir. It was through here that this form of Buddhism traveled to Ladakh. Of the 108 monasteries made by King Yeshe-O, the best preserved is Alchi in Ladakh. The three-storied temple of Alchi is the classic Kashmiri structure, which was made in the 11th century in all the monasteries of King Yeshe-O. Alchi is an oasis of beauty and color in the midst of the vast and barren landscape of Ladakh. The worshipper stands close to the grand statues of the Bodhisattvas that stand 20 feet high. The dhoti of the Avalokiteshwar has some of the most gorgeous paintings. We see here the only surviving visual representations of the culture and architecture of ancient Kashmir. These paintings are especially valuable as the paintings of Kashmir itself of that period have been lost. Here we see a Kashmiri king out for a hunt with falcons. A dancing girl stands before a temple in Kashmir. She has a vitality and poised style as would befit a proud dancer. A Tibetan king and queen sitting down to drink. The walls of Alchi are resplendent with figures in the most luminous colors painted anywhere. It speaks for the development of the ancient techniques and materials that these colors still appear fresh 1,000 years after they were painted. The deities are depicted in a special environment, the mandala. The worshipper has to take on the deity's qualities and see himself living in that environment. Then, he may weaken and finally eliminate his sense of living in the material world. As men are dominated by different passions, such as hate, desire, and ignorance, there are many forms of Buddhas which are presented. These Buddhas correspond to the different needs of the worshipper. They provide us the way to concentrate upon those qualities of the Buddha of which we have the greatest need. The Avalokiteshwar presents us the compassion of the Buddha. Across the entire Trans-Himalayan area, he is the most beloved deity. In this arid land where life is extremely difficult, one can understand that compassion would be the most desired and necessary human quality. The Manjushri is the Bodhisattva of wisdom. He holds the book of the perfection of wisdom and a sword in his hand to destroy ignorance. The Vajrapani represents the power of the Buddha. He is blue in color, has a wrathful appearance, and is surrounded by flames. One of the masterpieces of the Alchi paintings is the Green Terra. We see here the marvelous shaping of the form with skillful shading, which creates a sense of volume and roundedness of the limbs. We see the protruding further eye, which extends beyond the line of the face. This is a convention in Indian painting, which is seen particularly in the Jain paintings of Western India. The Kashmiri artists present a lively world, with the grace and beautiful forms coming to them from Ajanta. The rich textiles and decorative elements of these paintings are remarkable, and they show that the artists had assimilated the traditions coming to them from Gandhar and Central Asia. The textiles seen in these paintings are more varied and more colorful than perhaps anywhere else in the entire realm of art. The bold and rhythmic use of scarves and decorative arabesques lend a quality of movement and grace to these paintings. The remarkable confluence of cultures is seen here in the depiction of the Kalari Payat, the martial art form of Kerala. Just below, we see a typical Central Asian horseman. The finest paintings in India have flowered at centers of trading. The exchange of ideas in prosperous trading locations has, throughout history, led to the development of vibrant and rich cultures. The Kashmiri paintings of Ladakh represent such a fruitful blend of many cultures. In the later temples at Alchi, we see a different style of painting, which is influenced by Tibetan styles. These paintings appear more like tankas or Tibetan cloth paintings. Away from the animated and resplendent world of the earlier Alchi paintings, these present the deities in a much more formal manner. They are made strictly according to religious rules, and the concentration of the artist is on accurate iconographical presentation. Figures are now arranged in formal rows of hierarchy. The early monasteries were built in small fertile pockets in the arid landscape. Another such monastery built by King Yeshe-o is Mangyu. Mangyu has the most beautiful chorten of that period that survives till today. The paintings here are very similar to those at Alchi. So much so that it seems that the same hands would have painted these. Not much remains of the once vast monastery complex of Sumda, also made by King Yeshe-o in the 11th century. The Kashmiri style was mainly responsible for the lovely wall paintings still seen in the beautiful monasteries at Alchi, Mangyu and Sumda in Ladakh, in the Tabo monastery in the Spiti Valley, and in the Naco monastery in the Kinnaur district of Himachal Pradesh. On the western edge of the Trans-Himalayan Plateau, in Spiti, is the monastery complex of Tabo. This appears to be one of the first among the 108 monasteries built by King Yeshe-o. It is dated around 996 AD. The only surviving original paintings are in the main temple hall dedicated to Vairocana. The paintings here show close similarity to Alchi. The sinuous and even exaggerated body forms and the supple lines show a form of painting which is uniquely Kashmiri. The Monastery of Naco is situated near the Indo-China border in the Trans-Himalayan region of Kinnaur district in Himachal Pradesh. The monastery complex comprises 4 temples within an enclosure of mud walls. This too was built by King Yeshe-o. The wall paintings at Naco display a considerable delicacy of execution. Deeply influenced by the Ajanta style of painting, an important feature of the early Himalayan murals lies in the tonal variation of body hues to produce an effect of light and shade. The Chitra Sutra of the Vishnu Dharmotra, the ancient Indian treatise on painting, suggests that paintings are man's most important treasure, as they have a deep and enriching influence on him. The Vajrayana faith gave concrete practice to this belief by creating numerous images for men to meditate upon. With such a sublime reason and purpose behind this art, paintings were created in vast numbers across all areas where Vajrayana Buddhism spread. The artist's role and position in religious life became most important. The Buddhist scriptures describing deities with many hands mainly mention what is held in the principal hands. However, the complex iconography of the numerous symbolical objects in the many hands of the deities continues unchanged over the centuries, even till today. The preservation of this crucial area of religious knowledge was left entirely in the hands of the artists. As in the tradition of Ajanta, we see that the painters would have been deeply devoted people. For them, the act of painting would have been their offering to the divine. These paintings follow in the classic Indian tradition coming from Ajanta. The meeting of many cultural idioms in the constant and lively interaction which took place in cosmopolitan Kashmir lends a new vivacity to the art. Unfortunately, the paintings of Kashmir of the early period have been destroyed. What remains in these trans-Himalayan monasteries presents a world of vivid color and lively forms, painted in one of the great crossroads of trade of the ancient world. The traditions of Vajrayana Buddhist paintings, which were laid at the time of the grand conception of King Yeshe-O's 108 monasteries, continued in the centuries to come across the Himalayan roof of the world. The great style of Kashmir's Buddhist paintings was born out of the classic style of Ajanta and its interactions with Gandhar and Central Asia. The effortless depiction of the human form at Ajanta is molded in the valley of Kashmir by a consciousness of muscular body form. In times to come, this tradition of painting is transformed in the high-altitude icy deserts of Tibet. Here, the stark majesty of the inhospitable mountains results in a more somber and formal aspect coming into Vajrayana Buddhism. Accordingly, after the early phase of the Kashmiri painters, the paintings of Tibet and the Himalayan regions become more formal and religious. King Yeshao and the second coming of Buddhism laid the foundations of a great religion and its art in the Trans-Himalayas. The lands of Tibet, Nepal, Sikkim, Bhutan and Arunachal Pradesh continued Vajrayana Buddhism and its paintings as a living culture, which comes to us till today.